I'm your host, Tanya, and tonight we have made it back to Saturday, guys. Listen, I hope everybody is enjoying their weekend so far. We have made it to the end of Saturday, guys. Let's give it up. Yes, we made it. That's right. Tonight we're going to jump into the relationship sector. I hadn't really been diving deep into it the last couple weeks, but I've decided to do it this week. And again, I wanted to apologize for this past Monday because I was supposed to film the political station, but didn't realize that I had a business retreat to go to from my company. And so I was gone all Sunday and Monday, but I decided I'm going to do a 1 hour show tonight to make up for Monday. Okay. So, so tonight we're going to talk about again the relationship sector. What are the 5 ways to keep your relationship spicy, right? How to keep the interest or how to make your relationship stand out, okay? Because listen, just like anything, when you're in something long term or when you're in something that uh, is a nonstop, ongoing, day in and day out, day in and day out. Guess what? Over time, if you're not careful, things can get dull, right? And especially if you're with someone who is, they're more of a social butterfly. They like to be outgoing. And let's say the other person is maybe a social butterfly, but may not be as much. Might be more of a homebody and things like that. Guess what? You're going to have to work on that relationship. And just like anything, it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes two people to come to that realization like, you know what? We need to spice this up, right? Because think about it. You don't want to be in something boring. Nobody wants to feel like there's no spice or there's no fire in their relationship. They want to feel like there's still that spark. They want to feel that excitement again, you know? So let's go ahead and get into the first sign as far as how to keep your relationship spicy. The first thing you want to do is be spontaneous in your relationship. And what does that mean? Spontaneous is just saying that you want to do things off the cuff. You don't want to be predictable in your approach on things, whether it's going out to eat, whether it's planning a movie night, whether it's planning a date night, whether it's taking a trip, whether it's traveling all around the world, whatever it is, whatever you decide that you want to do, guess what? You want to be spontaneous because that's what's going to draw the interest level. Okay. That's what's going to keep the interest in the relationship. Because guess what? It's going to keep your partner or whoever you're with on their toes. Okay. They're not going to feel like it's a regular date night or it's going to be a regular anything. Because guess what? This is something that was unexpected. This was something that was off the cuff. And guess what? Just going out to somewhere that you've never been, experiencing something that you've never even seen before together will keep that flame going in your relationship. Now, take it. Everybody has their favorites, right? Everybody has their favorite as far as, where they like to go, where they like to shop, what they like to do, things like that. But every once in a while, it's good to try something new, something different, something that you can experience together to what? Create more memories in that relationship. All right. So again, let's be spontaneous. Okay. All right. So let's get on with number 2. Number 2 would be to surprise your the person that you're with their favorite, whatever it is. Okay, it could be their favorite food. It could be their favorite, just anything. It could be something that they talked about long time ago, and you always thought, huh? you know what? Maybe I need to get X, Y, and Z because this means a lot to them, right? And wouldn't it be nice if you just came up with that and you gave it to them? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. It's something that they like, something that they have talked about. It could be something as simple as their favorite meal or their favorite restaurant. Again, that's something that they're going to keep to heart because they're looking at it like, wow, this person really loves me because they really went X, Y, and Z. They remembered. They remembered that I talked about X, Y, and Z. This is very, very, very important. All right. So again, surprise them with their favorite. It doesn't even matter, like I said, what it is. You know, favorite food, favorite restaurant, favorite whatever they've talked about in the past. It could be something as simple, like I said, just anything. I don't even want to limit to just certain things because there's so many things that it could be their favorite, right? So again, number one, be spontaneous. Number two, surprise them with their favorite, whatever it is. Okay. And you'll know what their favorite is because a lot of times it'll be something that they've talked about in the past, right? Or it could be something that they have done in the past and they just haven't done it in a long, long time. It could be something as simple as bungee jumping or going camping or going to their favorite spot, and then maybe it's been years since they've been there. Well, you know what? If you plan something spontaneous and it's something that they talked about, which is their favorite, that's two things that you're doing to keep that relationship spicy. All right. All right. All right, so number three, let's get on with it. Plan a getaway, travel, you know? Now, that kind of goes hand in hand as far as being spontaneous because you can travel and plan a trip that you've never been before. But do something where you're out of your comfort zone. Go somewhere that you could say, you know what? We've always talked about this, but let's actually do this. Let's go to uh, Dubai. Let's go to Hawaii. Let's go to the Grand Canyon. Whatever it is that is spontaneous, number one, that is fun, number two, and number three is something that is out of your comfort zone. It's something that you think, you know what? Yeah, we always plan these type of trips, but wouldn't it be nice if we tried this time? Let's go mountain hiking. Let's go skiing. Let's do something we've never done before together, right? You know what? Why I say that? Because when you do things that you've never done before, you create new memories, right? You create new things to think about, new things to record back in your relationship. You can look back and say, wow, do you remember the time that we did XYZ? Do you remember when we did this, and this, right? And it's something that you'll hold on to because it's something that you've never done before. And it's something that's fun, okay? Something that, like I say, you both will enjoy. Now, take it. Everybody's interest is different, right? Some people don't like the outdoors, some people do, okay? But that's where you have to come to a balance. Maybe one time you may do the outdoors thing, right? But then it's their turn to surprise you with something that you like. You might like indoorsy type stuff, right? So that's what I'm saying. When you come together and you're spontaneous, which means it's off the cuff, it's something that you weren't expecting, it's something that's going to be fun, and it's something that is going to be long lasting and create memories. Guess what? That's where that relationship is going to continue to not be stale and boring. You don't want that, right? You want to feel like you're in an exciting relationship. You want to feel like whoever you're with, that person is having fun with you and you're having fun with them, right? Okay. So again, that's very, very important. Number one, again, be spontaneous. Don't be so close. Try new things. Try new adventures, try new places, travel to different places. Get out of your comfort zone, you know, do something that you've never done before and experience a new culture, a new way of living, right? Because the more you're exposed to, the more things you're going to see outside of that that you're going to want to try the next time, because a lot of times when you travel, and that's another thing, you start looking at different cultures, how people are, what people like, the type of food they eat. And when you're trying different things, it opens your eyes up and your mind up to so many different possibilities, you know. And so that's why I say it's just good to get out your comfort zone, get out the region. If you're not a traveler, even if it's going to another city, that it don't have to be far, but just far enough where you feel like you've experienced something different. That's what I'm saying. Something that you can create, again, a long lasting memory with the one that you love. All right. All right. All right. So, again, let's get on with number 4. Number 4, I would say plan an intimate night. Okay. Now, with relationships, intimacy is very important, and people take that lightly. Some people take it lightly. I'm not saying a lot of people don't. But when it comes to intimacy, you want to make sure that you're doing all you can to be um, loving and to be as more desirable as you can be, right? So again, try new things in the bedroom, right? Don't try the same stuff. Don't try in the same area you try new places, try new positions, try new you know, just do something again that's spontaneous. That goes in every area, guys. Okay. It doesn't have to necessarily be travel. It doesn't have to be, when we're talking about the bedroom or just being intimate, what I'm saying is, there's a certain position you like or that person like and you both like. But what I'm saying is mix it up a little bit. Do some role play, right? Do something, do something that you both will enjoy, but at the same time, it's different. Okay. Keep them on their toes. Okay. They should be keeping you on your toes as well. All right. Have a romantic night. If you have fruit, if you have candlelight, if you have flowers, whatever it takes, okay, to get out of that comfort zone, that's what you should do. Because at the end of the day, you want to be happy, right? You want to be happy with the one that you love. And there's nothing like having an intimate setting for just you and who you are with. All right. So, again, try new ways of pleasing each other. Okay. Foreplay is very important. Okay. Now, some people say, well, I don't need that, but, but still, I mean, again, foreplay is very important, okay, because that's what gets the intimacy to I gotta say, it gets the juices flowing. All right. All right. It's just like warming up a car engine. You have to get that person in the mood if they're not already. Okay. But try different things even with foreplay too. There's so many things that you can experience together for pleasure. You don't have to do the same way of doing things over and over and over again. All right. So that's why I say look for ways, like I say, role play. Be somebody, a character. It don't matter who it is. Be somebody, be their fantasy. Okay. You be their fantasy and they be your fantasy. Same thing. Right? It doesn't have to be, again, mundane. The same over and over and over again. Nobody wants to do that. And listen, when you're in a relationship over time, especially if you both have busy schedules, and that's another thing, sometimes you have to find time and make time to be spontaneous, okay? Because, everybody's work relationship is different, everybody's schedule is different. So you have to find ways and make time for the one that you're with, because if not, that neglect will come in, that worry will come in, And at the same time, you're going to be looking at like, oh, okay, well, X, Y, and Z, right? So yes, just be spontaneous, even in the bedroom. It goes hand in hand, Even if you're traveling, you can be spontaneous traveling, cooking their favorite meal, whatever it is. You know what each other like. The main thing is you're both trying something new and something fun and exciting. Okay. Excitement is very, very critical in this. All right. All right. All right. And number 5, let's talk about it. Well, we kind of talked about, the relationships out there as far as travel, being intimate and all that. But the last thing would be public displays of affection, right? POA. Okay. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a special time to show affection, right? You know, it can come at any moment, right? You could be going out the door. You could just be, you just might need just a hug, a caress, just someone to talk to, right? And sometimes, a lot of times, it's either when you're going out the door or when you're coming in the door. But let's say you're just going out and you're going just to, I don't know, you could be gardening, it could be anything. You catch them off guard. Guess what? That excitement is what draws them to you. Okay? They want excitement. They don't want the mundane. They don't want to feel like, oh my God, this is just I don't even want to do this anymore. Okay. And a lot of people get like that. They do. They get like that and they feel like, you know what, I love them, but at the same time, they don't feel no spark anymore. You know, think about the time when you first got together and you had that spark, right? Because people say, well, how do you know you're with the one that you're supposed to be with? Because you don't have to force things. Okay. Things automatically, not all the time, but a lot of times it's, you don't have to, you can be yourself, okay? And that person can be themselves and you will flow together naturally, okay? It, you don't have to force it. You don't have to try to make it work. If you have to try to make things work, that's not good. Now, I'm not saying if you're in a relationship that you don't have to work on your relationship because that's different. You're already together. What I'm saying is if you've never been together and this is your first time, then if it's the person that you're supposed to be with, a lot of times you don't have to force it. Okay, just let it flow naturally. It's going to take place. You don't have to rush it. You don't have to. It will come together in time. Okay, and that's another thing I got in my inbox. So I'm going to address 2 more questions for tonight because one person said, I think I found my soulmate. And I'm not sure if they're it and this and that, and this and that, and this and that. All right, well, let's address that. Because, like I said, we're going to talk about relationships tonight. Now, this is my thing. I think a lot of times when that's the one that's supposed to be there for you because like I said, it just flows naturally. Okay. And I think that was from Bob. Well, I ain't gonna say his last name, but he sent me an email and I wanted to address that because he's I guess had his eye on someone for a while and he wants to know my thing is do you think that's the one? I can't say if that's the one. Do you feel like that that's the one? Because if you feel it, then that's the one, right? I can only say what I think as a woman, how we look at relationships, right? But at the same time, if you're trying to go after somebody that you feel like is the one, the only way you'll know is when you get together, things flow naturally. Okay. They get you, you get them. You don't have to try. You don't. You don't have to do a thing. And not only that, I'm not saying you don't have to try as far as a relationship. What I'm saying is you don't have to force it to work. Okay. It just automatically will work, you know. When God puts people together, nobody can break that up. That's just how I see it. And a lot of times it's out of your heart. You'll know, that's how I see it. Just like my parents, I think about my parents sometimes, and they're deceased now, but um, they were married 40, 40, right at 40 years on the dot before my mom passed first, and then my dad passed the very next year, 2004, 2005. Well, they got married in 64, right? Like I said, 40 years. And when I look at how they met, because my mom tells the story all the time about she was, I want to say 15, 14, and he was in high school, and they dated the whole time they were in high school. And then he married her right after graduation. Like literally. Like back then they didn't play. When they saw who they was supposed to be with, they locked him in just like that. They didn't take no time to. But it's a different generation now. So, I have to kind of look at it like that. But to see that they were together for 40 years, you're talking about 4 decades, right? You know, that's a long time. Right. You know what I'm saying? 40 years? Can you imagine? 40 years with the same person, being with the same person day in and day out, day in and day out. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I think it's awesome, if you can find the one for you that is your soulmate, the one that's meant to be there till death. And that's what happened with them. That's the thing. It's like, when my mom passed in '04, he went the very next year. So it's almost kind of like, even I just feel like when you're really joined, when it's really your mate, I don't think you really can live without each other. I really don't. That's just my opinion. Now they say when a man goes first, usually the woman will last a little bit longer. But if the woman goes first, usually the man comes right after that. Especially like I said, they've been together a very, very long time. So, but just to answer your question, like I say, when it comes to the one, I feel like you'll know. It's that's something. If you're spiritual, you may have to pray about it. You may have to ask God to reveal it and say, "Okay, is this the one? Please show me." And if not, He'll show you that too. So you ain't got to worry about it. You ain't got to worry about nothing, honey. Either it's gonna flow, and you don't have to worry about it, or if it's a lot of obstacles in the way and things keep getting in the way, and there's a lot of hiccups, and there's a lot of how can I say, there's a lot of obstacles in your way. It seems like you're trying your best and nothing is working, then that means you may need to take a step back, right? Or it could be that's the one, but it just might not be the timing for you to be together, Because I know there's people that they dated and then they broke up and then they came back together and then they were fine after that. You know what I'm saying? So it could be just the timing of what you're trying to do if you're trying to lock that person in long term. Um, but that's just my opinion. I think that, like I say, you have to pray about it. I do believe that, in a spiritual sense, He's going to put that person in your path, right? Or you're going to be in the vicinity where they are, right? So I always look for seasons, you know. Uh, just look at what's, if there's new people or people that's old, if there's always a season for in and out, right? God is showing you what to look for. Okay. So to answer your question, just pray about it. And I feel like I said, if they're meant to be with you, then it's gonna flow. You're not gonna have to force a thing. Okay. All right. So let's get on to question number 2. This is from a lady. Her name is Becky. She states that she feels like she's being used in a relationship? How can you tell if you feel like you're being used? Well, um, well, that's pretty easy. I mean, I would say you would number one, you're gonna feel empty. You're gonna feel like it's one sided, or you're not getting back what you deserve, right? So if you're the type of person that's giving, 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 but you're not getting things back, then that's not good. That's one sided, right? So it could be you're giving all you can as far as your attention, your love, your time, and when it's time for you to get something, they're not reciprocating back to you. That's what I'm saying. Or they get whatever they need, and then that's it. Like I said, that's how you know. Okay, a person that really loves you, it's a give and take always, always. Okay, and you want to look for that. If you're in a situation where you feel like you're the one that's doing everything, then you need to take a step back. You need to say, no, it's their turn now. And if they never do it, then you need to go stand somewhere else and be with who will do that for you. Okay. There's always somebody for everyone. I firmly believe that. I don't believe that everybody is meant to be married, but I don't think everybody's supposed to be single either. So, but to answer your question, it's always one sided. That's how you know you're being used. Okay. If you're the type, like I said, you're giving, 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 and it's not coming back, or it's not coming back at the rate that you're giving, then if you can talk to that person, whoever you're with, you need to, have a serious sit down and communicate and tell them how you feel. Say, hey, this is this ain't we're not on the same page here, and if they can't do it, then it's time for you to maneuver and be with who you're supposed to be with, so always keep that in mind. All right. And demand respect. Okay. You can only demand it unless you put it out there. If you don't demand it, then they're not going to respect you. Okay. All right. All right, so question number 3. Let's get on with it. All right, so number 3, this is a question that came in yesterday, and this person says, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm in an abusive relationship. I don't know how to leave this situation, because if they find me, then X, Y, and Z. I feel like, it's not going to be good. Number one, your safety is number one. I don't know if you have family around. I don't know if you have somebody that can look out for you. You may have to call the police. You may have to get law enforcement involved, because you don't want to be in a relationship that's abusive, or, um, that person is not treating you fairly. Okay. You want to be in a relationship that, number one, you're safe. And number two, there's respect. Like I said, if there's abuse, then you're going to have to find ways of trying to get out of that situation. I would probably be calling the police with this, uh, because if you stay in that situation, it's not going to be well either. And like I say, your safety is number one. All right. So definitely try to reach out to law enforcement or the police, and try to get a friend or somebody that is with you in this situation to be kind of, guard the situation at hand, So, and I'm sorry to hear that, though. You don't want to ever be in that type of relationship, but, sometimes you don't know until you get with someone how they are. They might be nice and pleasant at first, but then as you get to know them, you're like, oh my God, this person is a monster, and sometimes it's like that, you you don't want to chance that with your safety. So if you can get out of that situation, try to definitely get out of that situation. Okay. But yeah, I would try to call the police, or try to have some type of family member help you with that situation. All right, so let's get on with question number 4. Question number 4 says, this person only wants my money. This is a guy said that he feels like this is a gold digger. He likes to spoil his woman, but he wants to know, is this a sign of a gold digger? Um, she likes to go to expensive restaurants and this and that and this and that. Okay, so things with gold diggers. I guess we got a range of topics for tonight. So we got a lot of people talking about different things, and hey, sometimes it's like that. You just want to know how do you know if this is a gold digger? Okay, so number one, everything is about money. Okay, um, they don't care about your feelings. They don't care about relationship. They care about, how can I get in that person's pockets? How can I get in that person's wallet? How can I get in that person's bank account? That's all they care about. They care about the mean green in a nutshell. Okay? They don't care about your feelings. Like I said, they don't care about love. They don't care about any of that. Okay? And the minute you don't have any money, or the minute something happens where you can't get money, the minute they won't be with you. Okay, so just know that it's a done deal. Okay, they're going to look at what type of car you drive, what type of house you have. If you come up in a old car or a hoopty or something that is decent, but it may not be expensive, and you try to pick them up, they will run as far as they possibly can. Okay, especially if they're a gold digger. Okay, you don't. They'll give themselves away. All right, that's very, 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 very easy to detect. Um, and a lot of times their friends are gold diggers too. Birds of a feather flock together. You know, so if a woman has on Gucci, or she's wearing Prada, or designer, she's not. If they're gold diggers, they're not going to want to associate with someone who's just wearing, I don't know, a Nike T-shirt, or just something that just an ordinary clothing, right? Because again, they're materialistic. They only care about the high end most of the time. Mercedes, Benz, BMWs, things like that. They don't care about you if you have a Ford or a Chevrolet. They're not even going to want to be around you or be associated with you, period. Very shallow. Okay. So, I mean, it is what it is. And like I say, they usually give themselves away, um, because it's all about the money. And like I said, once you don't have that money, and once you can't provide, or you don't have the money, they will drop you instantly. Just know that. Okay. Just go ahead and be prepared. All right. Now, number 5, this person says they felt like they made a big mistake marrying this person. They feel like this person only married them for money. Oh, wow. So, uh, you know, uh, well, okay, so you're married already. Um, 2 things. I don't know what y'all discussed before you got married. I don't know what kind of conversations you had. Um, but you're saying that you feel like you've married pretty much a gold digger. Okay, so that's not good. Number one, because like I said, and I'm gonna go back to what I just said before. If something happens where you don't have that type of money coming in, and they're all about the material, honey, they're gone. Okay, just realize that. You ain't even gotta sweat it. Just know that it's a done deal. Okay, and then not only that, you have to look at what. Okay, their motive, right? Um, Are they always asking for your credit cards? Are they always asking for money, to buy expensive clothes and shoes, and to travel and to go abroad and all this? Listen, everybody likes nice things. I love nice things. And sometimes I'll buy designer here and there. But I'm not so fixated to the point where that's all I want to wear. You know what I'm saying? And that's the difference too. You know, they go with the outward appearance first. They don't care about the inner beauty. They care about what you can provide and what you can give them. Okay. So to answer your question, you feel like you married someone like that. You may have a talk with them. You know, I think you should test it. You know, just what I would do is just trade in the BMW or and just go and get you a regular car and just see what happens. See what happens and see what kind of reaction you get if they leave, then you know that that was a gold digger to begin with. You don't want to waste your time on that, okay? But if they stay and they say, you know, okay, yeah, well, I guess we didn't need the car and you got an ordinary vehicle or whatever, guess what? They're still going to be right there with you, okay? That again, they're not wrapped up on things, materials, okay? What you can provide, and that's it, okay? All right, so let's get on with number 5. Okay, so the fifth question for tonight comes from a young lady in California. Her name is Elizabeth. And she says, I'm tired of dating. I feel like there's no good men out here. Everywhere I turn, there's always the dogs, they're dogs or they're this and that. And I'm just tired of running into uh, jerks or dogs. What am I doing wrong? Okay, so Becky, or Elizabeth, excuse me, um, you're not doing anything wrong. Now, you may need to change your environment. I don't know exactly where you're meeting these men or where you're going um, to finding these men. Number one, just I would change my where I'm going as far as social. You know, try some new areas. You know, sports bars, places like that. Uh, you know, games, sports, athletic type stuff. You're going to run into a lot of men there. Like I say, sports bars. I don't know if you're going to clubs. I don't know if you're going to religious like churches and things like that. They're everywhere, right? But it depends on the type of man you're looking for. You know, what type of men are you looking for? Are you looking for a professional man? Are you looking for someone that is athletic, an athlete? Are you looking for someone who's a blue collar? You know, he might be in construction, or or are you looking for a white collar? He might be an office, somebody in the office. You know, what type of man are you looking for? You know, where are you going to find these men? That's what I would ask. You know, is it? Do you need to change your location? Do you need to change how you're going about seeking these men? You know, are you approaching these men, or are these men approaching you? Right? That's very important, you know. Um, but yeah, just change your surroundings. You know, sports bars, games, football, basketball, anything dealing with sports. You got a good chance of, if you're looking for, more of athletic, or if you're looking for businessmen, then you need to start hanging around more conferences and uh, you know business business engagement type stuff. Conferences, things like that. Depending on where you are, what city and state, that plays a factor too of the type of man that you're looking for. Um, so, to answer your question, I don't think you're doing anything wrong. Sometimes you don't know they're a dog until you find out they're a dog. It's not your fault. I don't buy into that. You keep running into the same men. You got to look at yourself. I don't think so. I think sometimes you got to weed out the ones that are for you. You're going to run into bad apples anyway. And I don't think it's right to blame that person because you just so happen to run into somebody bad again. You just have to continue to keep dating, but expand your pool a little bit more. Expand where you're going to finding these men. Okay, not limit yourself in just one broad area. So But yeah, I would expand that pool just a little bit more and see if you can get some luck that way. All right. All right. All right, guys. So I'm hoping everybody is doing good so far. Yes. Yes, I said I'm going to talk about the relationship. And like I said, I'm doing a 1 hour show tonight because I got to make up for Monday. And like I said, I know people was like, what happened? You didn't even give us a warning. Honey, I know. And I apologize. I'm sorry. I didn't. I really, it just slipped my mind. And when I got off the mic Saturday, I said, I'm coming back on Monday with Sports and Politics with T. And then the very next day, my colleague had called me and said, you're on your way to the hotel. I was like, hotel? What hotel? They was like, we're going to, we got a meeting Monday. I was like, oh, is it this Monday? They was like, yeah. So I went ahead and started packing Sunday, and I went on down Sunday evening, and I was with them the whole all day Sunday night and all day Monday, and I didn't get back till Tuesday night. So again, I'm definitely apologetic for all of that. All right, y'all know I love doing my shows through the week, and I enjoy talking to people and just engaging with people and things like that. All right. So yes, but y'all keep the questions coming in. I love answering questions, or if there's some things that you want to talk about, or there's some more topics. I got a few more questions we're gonna talk about later on before the end of the show that we're gonna dive into too. But continue to keep sending those messages in my inbox. Trust me, I do read the messages. I do. I like reading them because some of them are funny. I ain't gonna lie. I kept looking at it. I said, "Oh my God!" Some of these are very, very like just all the way. So, but yeah, keep them coming. I'll definitely keep looking at them and analyzing what we should talk about every Saturday. Again, relationship and politics, or excuse me, fun and entertainment with T. That's where the relationship channel is going to be posting all of these particular videos. Okay, I am filming it on sports and politics right now, and that's just to make people aware. But I am going to be posting these videos on fun and entertainment with T. So y'all check out my other channel as well. And also we're going to talk about the sports channel as well, because we're going to do the sports. We're going to do the live feed. And, NFL is still in gear. So we're still covering all the games as well. All right. All right. So let's get on with question number 6. Now, this is coming from a young lady coming in. She's from Houston, Texas. All right. Houston, Texas. Let's talk about it. This young lady says, I am shy. I don't know what I need to do to be confident in the dating arena. Um, I'm an introvert, okay? And I'm not a social butterfly. I'm not this and that and this and that and this and that. I'm not outgoing like that. But I do want to be with someone. How can I do this? How can I get past this fear? Oh, that's a good question. Very good question. Listen, not everybody is confident in that area. Okay. Believe it or not, coming up, I was more of a shy type too, to be honest with you. And it took a little time for me to get confident in a sense of just being confident in who you are, right? Um, but when you're an introvert, you like to be inside. You don't like a lot of people. You don't like to be around big crowds. You like small knit crowds. You're more of a homebody. And then you do go out. You do go out in areas where there's not a lot of people, right? You like to be social, but you're an introvert. So you like to uh, be more, how can I say, indoorsy. You don't like the crowds and a lot of people and things like that. And guess what? There's nothing wrong with that. There's extroverts that love to, be social butterflies and all that. And then there's introverts that say, you know what, I like people, but I don't need to have a whole crowd of people with me. So to answer your question, how can you get past that fear? Well, what I would do is stick with the environments that you're comfortable with, right? Um, or sometimes you do have to kind of step out of your comfort zone just a little bit just because you're trying to date and you're trying to find the right one for you. Okay. Um, they say opposites attract, right? So the opposite would be an extrovert for you, which is someone who loves to go, 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 right? But a lot of times, I feel like in certain instances, opposites don't attract because if you look at it, a person who likes to go, they're not going to want to be with somebody who don't want to go nowhere, right? And then a person who don't want to go nowhere don't want to be with somebody who's always going, 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 going. They may go, but they may not want to go the same places, right? So that's why I say you got to find a balance. But I think for you, since you said you're shy and you want to date, you want to be with someone, but you just don't know how to get out, then I was, do you have any friends or someone that you can go along with so that you can be comfortable, so you won't feel like you're alone or by yourself? I think that's very, very important. Have a girlfriend, have someone with you that can kind of come with you in certain areas, or, so you won't feel like you're just by yourself, especially if you're saying you're an introvert and you don't like to go places and things like that. That's the only way I think will help you. Like me, it took like okay, like over time, it don't bother me because I talk in front of people all day, every day. Even on my job, people come in my office, I sit and I talk to them face to face. So when I'm on camera, I feel like I'm at work, to be honest with you. So it doesn't feel like pressure per se, because like you say, you're used to talking in front of people. Uh, but for you, I think that you're going to have to get past that fear. You know, try to be more outgoing. Try to get in bigger circles. Try to be with people that like to go places and do things. Especially if you're not trying to be an introvert all your life, you're going to have step out your comfort zone just a little bit so that you'll feel more confident going out in front of people, and then it won't feel like you're forcing it. You can tell somebody that is naturally someone that just loves to be, you know, and then you can tell people who are more not bashful, but they'll be with you, but they ain't gonna be out in front of everybody. They're more behind the scenes, and they'll let you go on and do your thing, and they're okay with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think for you, like you say, you're trying to branch out and date. So it's you're gonna have to change your circle. And be with people who are a little bit more outgoing too, because when you get two introverts together, you're going to be confined. It's almost like they're not going to go but so far, and you're not going to go but so far either, right? And so one person is going to have to push you just a little bit, not enough where you're embarrassed or you feel like you're uncomfortable, but enough where you feel like, wow, I'm meeting so many new people. I felt when I was at my college, I'm not going to tell you where, we used to have presentations in front of the class. And to be honest with you, back then, I hated speaking in front of people. I hated it. I did. I don't know what it was back then. It was, and the thing is, the classroom was, what, 20, 30 people? But I would get so nervous. I would, and I would be practice what I was going to say. And even speech class. I remember we had speech class, and I would have to do presentation in front of people. And back then, I'm gonna be honest with you, it was tough. I had to come up. You had to overcome that fear, and it just takes repetition. But now that I'm in front of people all the time, I don't even think about it anymore. It just comes second nature. It's just like anything. The more you do, the more you're not going to think anything of it, right? Even when I go live and people are talking to me face to face, I'm going live with them too. I don't know what they're going to ask me. I don't know what they're going to say, but that's where the confidence comes in at, right? So again, just change your circle, change the environment that you're meeting people. Okay, try to get in bigger circles. Try to be in more fun circles. places that you would normally go, try to branch out outside of that. Okay, and you'll see. I think you'll see a big difference in your love life. I really do. All right, so let's get on with number 7. Now, this person stays, and she's out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. All right, Milwaukee. Her name is Ann, and she says, "I have been dating, but I'm always coming up with the wrong one. I'm tired of finding losers. I'm tired of finding I'm tired of finding men that are dogs and this and that and this and that." Okay. Well, this is kind of like the lady in California. And again, where I'm going to ask you is, where are you going to finding these men? Where or whoever? Where are you finding these people? Uh, that's important. You might want to change your location, change your circle, change where you're going. Okay. Depending on the type of person you're looking for, right? So I'm going to say the same thing I said about 2 questions back. That's where I feel like you're going to be better off, Um, and that's it. That's really all I'm going to say about that. Now, question number 8. Question number 8. This is someone out of Seattle, Washington. Okay. Let's see. His name is Mark. He said he feels like he found the love of his life. They feel like they're soulmates. Okay. But he doesn't know if he should go to the next level. Well, Mark, I mean, that's going to be something that you would know. I mean, do you feel like you can go to the next level? If you feel like you can go to the next level, then you can go to the next level, right? You just said that you found your soulmate, right? If you found your soulmate, I would lock in on that. I would. I wouldn't take that risk. I sure wouldn't. Because again, it's your soulmate. And that's what I'm saying. When you're not even saying wife, you're not saying your girlfriend, you're saying soulmate. What makes a person your soulmate? How do you know that's your soulmate? What gave it away that was your soulmate? Right? That's what I'm saying. Something had to happen for something to be revealed to say, you know what, that's the one I'm supposed to be with. Till death. Yeah. Automatic. So to answer your question, I would say is if you're ready, then you're ready. I mean, that's in a nutshell. It can't get no further than that. It really can't. So just know, listen, if you're spiritual, which I am, and a lot of people know that, I always ask God to reveal it to me. Show me. And he will. Don't and if it's not the answer you're looking for, don't get upset when it don't go your way. You have to be open to however it falls, right? But deep down if that's your soulmate. And guess what? She knows too. Yeah. Because people ask, well, do women know that we found the one? I think sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I think over time you might get that feeling. Because as women, we're the ones that want to go ahead and get married anyway, right? But to say that that's your soulmate, that's the one that's meant for you to the end. How do you know? Well, you're not going to know until you're with them and you've gotten to know them over time. And to me, God will reveal it to you. And it could be through signs, it could be through dreams, it could be through, um, just your interaction with them. Something about them is going to stick out. And again, I'm going to go back to that first question. You don't have to force a thing when it's your soulmate. It flows naturally. It will. When like I say, if you got to force it, that's not the one. That's not the one. Because when you're forcing it, that's like saying that you're trying to make things work when it's not meant to work. Okay? But when you don't have to force and things are flowing good, it's not going to be perfect, but it's flowing good and it's natural. It's almost like, wow, where has this person been all my life? You know? And you hear from men all the time. I knew it from the first time I laid eyes. Sometimes they say that, and it could be true, you know? So again, go with that inner feeling. If you're, like I say, if you're spiritual, pray about it, ask God to reveal it to you, and He will. He'll show you just like that instantly. Don't even worry about that, you know? All right, and let's get on with the last question for tonight, guys. Are y'all enjoying the show? I know you are. I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody jumping on the live for Sports and Politics with T. This is again going on the Fun and Entertainment channel for tonight. All right, so let's get with the last question of tonight, and then we're going to go ahead and shut it down for tonight. So the last question states, this is from, this is from Terrell from New York, Manhattan, New York City. Okay, he said he loves my channel. Well, thank you, Terrell. I appreciate that. And this is wonderful. This is awesome. Okay, so he states that, is long distance relationships worth it? Can long distance relationships work? Especially if you have a traveling schedule and your busy schedule. Well, let me say this. They say, long distance relationships is hard. It can be. It can be. You just got to me, both of you have to have an understanding, but you both have to make time for each other. No matter how far you are, you're going to have to make it work somehow. Time is the essence, okay, when it comes to long distance relationships. And what I think is, let's say you're in New York where you are, let's say whoever you're dating is in California, okay? You say you travel anyway. Well, does that person travel too? Is there a way that you can travel and come together so you're always meeting, each other? And I think, like I say, long distance relationship can work, but you're going to have to be on the same page when it comes to your timing and how you're getting together and how you're flowing together, because especially if you both have busy schedules, it's going to be tough. I'm not going to lie, it's going to be tough. Okay, so I would say, to answer your question, it can work, but you're going to have to really come together, sit down, talk, and lay out what you think is going to make it work, right? You may say, okay, well, I'm always gone 2-3 weeks out of the month, or but I would like to. We still have to make time for each other. You got to do that. If not, then it's not going to work. Okay. It's just like when wives, when their husbands go off to the military and they get deported overseas. Guess what? They gone for months at a time. Those women are at the house. They're home. But you best believe when they come back, they're making time for them. So time is key. Can you squeeze time in on that relationship? Can you video call? Can you do Zoom and all this stuff? Can you do what you have to do? Can you meet physically in person a few times out of the week or through the month? That's going to be the deciding factor for a long distance relationship, and making sure that you're spending as much time as you can together. All right, so let's give it up for tonight. Yes, guys. Yes. So again, thank you all for tuning in to Sports and Politics with T. This is the relationship sector for tonight. We originally talked about the 5 ways of keeping a relationship spicy, and then I decided to just answer some questions that had been coming in the inbox. Trust me, I got tons of questions that we haven't even scratched the surface on. All right. So, but anyway, guys, I will be back on Monday. We're going to get back into the political sector, and we're going to start talking about the political arena. If you enjoyed this content, please hit like, share, and subscribe. And also, if you can, Please hit the notification bell. That way you won't miss any episodes every time I come on to YouTube. I will be back again on Monday at 8 p.m. And trust me, I will definitely be back this coming Monday. All right. So I know they said, well, you said that last weekend. And again, that was an unexpected meeting, but we got it all squared away. All right. So, yes, I will be back on this coming Monday. So, everybody enjoy the rest of your week or weekend, and I will see everybody Monday at 8 p.m. Take care. Bye bye.